Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our HiQA Manufacturing Quality Software webinar. This webinar is part of our product series. So we're going to talk about 5 tips to integrate ERP with manufacturing quality. So today, real quickly, get into a couple of presentation logistics here. Everybody is muted currently with the size and number of customers and prospective customers that we have on the call today. Really having it open to conversation is not conducive and would be more interruptions than not. So we do have everyone on mute. That is not to say, though, that we don't want your questions. So in the Q&A section, of the meeting, you can put questions in there. We will try to answer those questions as we go, but as they pertain to the group, we'll also kind of ask those out loud during the question and answer portion of the presentation as well. So please do put your questions in there as they come up, and we'll do our best to answer them as we go, but then also verbally at the end. Finally, this webinar is also being recorded, so don't feel like you have to take a bunch of notes. Certainly pay attention, enjoy the presentation and what we're talking about here today, but we will send this recording after the presentation as well. So that being said, today's presenters, myself, Scott Boeing, I'm the VP of Customer Success here at HiQA. Work with our existing customer base. I'm making sure, obviously in the title, that you are successful using our software. With me, I'm doing a bulk of the presentation on the ERP Connect, is Chris Mendocino, our VP of Product, and Chris is here on video with us as well. So topics today, and really a short list, but an action-packed list of really. First topic is why it's important to integrate your ERP with your manufacturing quality software. So get into how that works, and again, really why you should consider potentially doing this. Ultimately, we also want to discuss how do you integrate your ERP specifically with HiQA. As a majority of the folks on the call today, or I guess I should say about half and half, are existing customers of HiQA. We're tying that specifically to our product, but also we have prospective customers in here as well. So we'll be talking to both of you. And at the end, after we really discuss and talk about the ERP integration, we're going to get into a little bit of who HiQA is to really educate and inform everyone on the call towards the end, and open that up to, again, a second question and answer after each section. So again, with that being said, I will now turn this over to Chris Mendocino and let him talk about ERP manufacturing quality integration.
Awesome. Thanks, Scott. Appreciate it. All right. So yeah, welcome everybody. Glad to have you guys here. This is kind of a big improvement that we want to talk about today. There's mainly, we've had integration capabilities for the last several years, but we've made some we've made some technological advancements, and we have some new products to talk about that make that integration process with your ERP system much easier than it was prior. So we're going to talk about all that in a minute here, but let's start off with why we would even want to integrate ERP systems with manufacturing quality systems, specifically HiQA, in the way that we take kind of an engineering approach to quality management. So not just your typical run-of-the-mill QMS, but more of kind of the focus that we have with inspection planning and data collection and all that kind of stuff. So I'm not necessarily going to read through every bullet point. You guys can read what's on the slides, whether that's now or whether that's during the recording when you're catching up on things, if you want to listen, either way. But basically, what it comes down to is no matter what kind of shop you have certain systems and such that all work in their own areas of value that they're adding. Okay, so ERP systems you're using for resource planning and such. You have NC programming software, CAM software, CAD software, all these different tools that you'll have for different management of processes. Now, each product will have its niche, but there's going to be inevitably certain overlap between different products that you have. And so what we want to do is anywhere that we can, anywhere where there's overlap in certain concepts of data, we want to make sure that those are tied together nicely to avoid any sort of mismatch in data. You know, it's a pain in the neck when you've got a part number in your ERP system and you go to look up like the quality, like the inspection history on that part number in your quality system, but somebody made a typo and that part number is not matching, right? So that's a pain in the neck to deal with. So we want that more seamless, more integrated, more stable, right? So that's kind of what we're shooting for here. All right, so next, what we want to get into is specifically when we're talking about ERP integrations with a quality system like HighQA, right? Because now, just taking a quick step back, the tools that we're going to be talking about here for performing these integrations could apply to connecting HighQA to virtually any software that you guys have. So we could connect to MES systems, other QMS systems that might be complementary in some way, engagement management systems. We could connect to a whole bunch of things using these tools we're going to talk about. But today we're going to focus on ERP because that seems to be the biggest pull or the most common request that our customers have, and the most like bang for your buck out of the box value. Okay. So when we're talking about that relationship between ERP and quality, there you can kind of read on the screen here, there's part numbers, job numbers, lots, operations, and so on. Okay. So because we have a mix of existing customers and prospects on the call today, I want to cover a little bit of fundamentals here just to explain the concept. So in your ERP system, you obviously have all these record types, part numbers, jobs, lots, operations, and so on. We also have that in HighQA, but we're doing different things with those records, okay? We're not overlapping in function, but we use the same record IDs for traceability purposes, right? So you can find what you're looking for. So for example, part numbers in an ERP system, you build out a part record, you're going to do like your resource planning that you have, inventory control. You're going to do some cost estimating as you build out like a routing and such. And you estimate like your setup times, run times, scheduling, and all that kind of stuff. So you do all that within your ERP. That's great. We want nothing to do with that. we want to sync with it, but we don't want to do anything in that particular territory as far as building software. What we want to do is take a part record, matching that part number that you have in your ERP, and build an inspection plan around it. Okay. So we want to take the drawing, we're ballooning the drawing, we're building a master bill of characteristics, like a list of inspection criteria. And then we're building out operation steps that part is going to go through and saying what to inspect at each operation step, right? And so the list goes on of all the things that we do around that. But you can see there how we're doing two very different things between HighQA and an ERP system, but we need that part number to be the same. We need the part name, the description, the rev, those types of what we call metadata fields. We need those to be the same so that we can identify, so that we can look them up easily between the two systems. Okay, same thing applies for jobs, lots, operations, etc. Okay, so that's just like focusing on parts for a second there, just to give you a rough example of how that works. Okay, and we'll talk a little more about the specifics of what we're integrating in a little bit here. All right, so typical integrations of what we've done in the past historically. We use a technology called a RESTful API. So for those of you on the call that aren't super techie at a programming level, which is probably most of you guys, since that's not really what manufacturing gets into. That's more our job as software people. But RESTful APIs are basically like an industry standard. It's a very modern language or toolkit for syncing different software applications together. Okay, so APIs are super common. They're very standard. You can use like an API to integrate with like Google Maps, for example, right? Almost everything out there has some sort of RESTful API. So what that means, though, is we give you a library of tools to be able to programmatically push and pull data to our system, okay, to and from our system. And you can sync that data with other third-party systems. Now, from a business perspective, what we've been doing over the last few years, and that's changing now, but I'm trying to give you the history here. What we've been doing is kind of a model of here, you take the API, we'll coach you on how to use it, we'll give you some best practices and such, but ultimately it's your responsibility to build the integration and sustain that. Now, that works really well for like large enterprise companies who have programming and development resources on staff and can deal with that, or they have partnerships with development firms and so on, and they can make that integration work really well and get exactly what they want out of it. Takes time, effort, money, all that though, to get that up and running. So what we have been shooting for with our smaller shops is something of a little bit of a different model. And so let's jump down to the next slide. So moving forward, and this is sort of what we're announcing today, is a new toolkit for the small, medium-sized businesses. And when we say small to medium-sized manufacturers, we mean pretty much, you could say under 500 to 1,000 employees, somewhere in that range is what we've identified as what we kind of think of as small to mid-sized companies in our space. Okay, so I mean, realistically, anybody can use this, I suppose, but that's kind of what we were targeting for. Now, the plan was, and what we've kind of put together, what our mission was to deliver, was and you can see this along the bottom, a plug and play solution with minimal to no programming effort required to get this up and running, so that you guys can get set up, totally integrated, and synchronizing your data between your ERP and HQA as quickly as possible. Okay, so that was our goal. And what we've come out with now is a series of standardized off-the-shelf plug and play integrations. Okay, we call them, this is under the product suite that we call HQA Connect. Okay, so there's a few different flavors of this, in the sense that we've got a standard library of ERP systems that we already have connectors built for. And then we have a long pipeline of ERP systems that we plan on building connectors for over the next, weeks, months, and years. Okay. So those three, just to let you know, those three that we currently have productized are JobBoss, Epicor, and Visual. Okay. Visual ERP. So those three we already have products for, and there's a bunch that are in the pipe, as I mentioned. We've also done an SAP integration. I might mention a little bit about that. That's a little bit of a different beast because, well, you can't do off the shelf like plug and play with SAP. It just doesn't work that way. But we utilize this toolkit to build SAP integrations as well. I'll explain a little bit of that later if we have some time. So the idea here is these are products that you guys are able to purchase. Whether you're an existing high QA customer, you've been running the system for a while, and you want to bump up to the next level of automation and efficiency, or if we have a lot of prospects that were joining this webinar as well. And so even if you're thinking about, hey, I'm looking into high QA and what can it do for me? What does implementation look like? This is just another piece to think about, that we're really minimizing the barrier to entry for something like this. We're making it real simple to just synchronize and automate early on in the process based on your needs. Okay, cool. All right, so next slide here. One thing I want to plug, we are going to get into sort of a standard, like what is it that we're synchronizing between the systems? What's a common use case that's being supported? Real quick before we hit that, we wanted to put in this slide regarding security. we anticipated, this is a pretty substantial topic right now, especially with like CMMC coming out and everything for anybody that's like a defense contractor. But anybody, if you go to your IT team and say, "Hey, I want to integrate IQA with my ERP," and their first question is going to be, "Well, what does that look like? What are the details on security and so on?" So take a screenshot of this. This is like kind of a quick highlight bullet point of what's going on. We're not going to get into every detail here because I'm guessing most of the people on the call are not IT folks. If you are, then reach out to us and we'd be happy to dive into all of this with you about how we deal with encryption at rest in transit and how we deal with user permissions controls and Active Directory integration and so on. That's all possible through these connectors. Okay, cool. So we're going to jump past that. Okay, so let's get practical for a second, for a couple minutes, and talk about what we're actually doing with a connector. So there's a couple main areas here, and I said I was going to add a new bullet point between sessions here because we ran this in the morning too. It looked like this was a pretty popular topic, and so we ran 2 sessions on it to help people accommodate their schedules. But there's technically should be 5 bullet points here. So really expanding a little bit on what we were talking about before. What does it mean to actually sync part records and such? We're going to look at the application interface in a minute here. That's on the next slide. So you'll actually get to see what this looks like. But conceptually, part number creation and syncing. What we're talking about is in the ERP, I've got a part record. And at some point, I'm gonna, I might have set up that part record for planning purposes, for estimating, sending a quote out to my customer, something like that, right? But at some point, I've gotten a PO, I've won their business, and I need to build an inspection plan around this. To be honest, like it could even be before you get the PO. Maybe you're trying to quote better, and you want to build an inspection plan to get a better idea of what your costs are going to be on the resource side for quality inspections. We have customers that do that as well. That our ballooning technology can actually aid in the quoting process. Just more inputs, right, to the cost estimating. So regardless, at some point, you want to take that part number that's in your ERP and you want to create a correlating inspection plan. Okay, so being able to just sync that and say, boop, put that part into my HQA system, and then if the second bullet point there, if there's a drawing connected to the ERP, to the part record in the ERP, if it knows where the drawing path is, then we could pull that as well, automatically upload the drawing, trigger the auto ballooning process. You have your bill of characteristics. As soon as you open that part for the first time in HighQA, it's already pre-ballooned for you. So that's pretty nice. Some time savings there. The other thing that can come in automatically, this is that missing bullet point that I alluded to, is we can pull in the operations along with that part. So a lot of our customers, they're building out not just a singular list of inspection criteria, but they're breaking that into individual operation steps for what features get checked at what stage of the process. Okay, so rather than having to reinvent the wheel and create those operation steps by referencing your ERP or having a router in front of you or something like that, and you have to type it all in, rather than doing that, you could just have it synced directly from the ERP. Okay, and then once you have that baseline brought in from your ERP, now you can start plugging away and building all the detail of your inspection plans and so on. Okay, next. So that's just at the part level concept. Actually, go back. Sorry, Scott. I know I said next, but I didn't mean it. So beyond the part synchronization, that's got some degree of value. But when where these connectors really start adding value is at the job creation level. Okay, so what I mean is that part record gets made one time, right? You set up that part record and then you're good. Then now it's just about every time that somebody makes an order, I'm going to repeat that. I'm going to copy it. So What we found, though, is there are certain decisions that get made at that job creation level. Okay. So a lot of times, you're going into your ERP system, you're creating a new order. What we mean by job is job number, work order, production order, any of those things. It's all the same. The concept of a order quantity coming from your customer to asking you to make a certain quantity of this part. Okay. So when you have a job in your ERP, you have a planner or somebody of that nature that does set up in your ERP, creates that new job record. Well, it'd be nice if that just happened automatically in high QA as soon as you do that in the ERP. That's effectively what we have here is instead of, without the integration, you're having to do it twice. You're having to go in, and every single time you have a job, you've got another couple minutes of extra work to do now to go in and create that job in high QA as well, because you're creating that job so that you have samples that are generated as requirements for inspection down on the shop floor and so on. Okay. So now we can actually trigger that automatically trigger the sample creation, which ironically is beyond what you can actually do in the software, just vanilla. Is in the software, if you were going to do this without an integration, you actually have to create the job and then decide how you want the samples made. With an integration to your ERP, we have some cool logic that we've been able to put in off of certain ERP fields to make all those decisions and fully automate that process. Okay. So if you're doing like 30 jobs a month or something, maybe that's not that big of a deal for you. And you can do it manually. But if you're doing like 100, 200, 300 jobs a month, like it turns into a huge time savings. Okay. All right. So now we can go to the next slide. Thank you, Scott. Awesome. So now let's take a look at some of the interface, because there is actually an interface here, which is maybe not super typical for an integration like this, but we really needed some sort of a UI application layer in the middle between these two products, whatever ERP system you have in high QA, because as we started going down this path, we realized this is not something where you can just set some background software that automates every record from your ERP coming into high QA. That's not actually ideal, is what we found as we got into this with customers. It's better to actually have some level of decision making in the middle. And this is something we want to expand on, but I'll show you what I mean. So this is a tool that pulls up in a browser. So virtually anybody in your organization can access this if they have a user login. Okay. And they can see three main elements in the left side bar there. There's importing of plans, import operations, and import jobs. Okay. So right now we're on the import plans page. That's what we're looking at. And we can see a list of part numbers. Now, if this ERP system that we took the screenshot from, if we were linking to an ERP that had routings and multiple routings, we would also see which routing is that we're working with. So the HQA Connect actually takes each part number and each routing variation of each part number and makes an individual row for each one of those items. Okay. So, because what we're doing is we basically want to import that into high QA and make inspection plans out of each one of those. And we have a few different ways in which to do that through this drop-down menu. I don't want to get into all the details of why we would do one thing versus the other, but there's a few different ways that you might want to do things based on the business logic you're trying to achieve. Okay. But this is really what it comes down to, is you can just see, okay, cool, I got a part that's in my ERP, look it up, click a button, boom. It's going to trigger a whole sequence of events in high QA by creating that part record, uploading the drawing if you had it connected in the ERP, trigger that auto ballooning, and then you're off and running as soon as you open your ERP system. Next, you can also trigger the operations to import as well. And you can even see some statusing that's happening there. There's two records here. The 10077 record has the plan imported and the operations imported. But the 10097 only has the plan imported. We've just imported that, but the ops have not been synced yet. Maybe you want the op sync, maybe you don't on this particular one, but that's up to you. You can at least see what's been done here. Okay. And then the third one is the jobs importing. Very similar look and feel on each one of these, but it's basically, hey, this is our window into the ERP system, what the ERP has. And this is the same interface regardless of what ERP system you're working with, really. It's the same middleware tool, okay? And we're just giving you the status on what's been done, what has not been synced, and this is kind of your push button tool to get everything synchronized between the systems. Okay, cool. There are some things that we want to do with this down the road. I should preface that real quick because I think here, where are we in this? Yeah, so I want to preface this real quick. So a couple things is that one, these ERP connectors or HQA Connect, there, like I mentioned, there's one for JobBoss, Epicor, Visual, and then there's more coming. They are products in and of themselves. They have their own life cycle and version control. So you'll see like HQA Connect, JobBoss version 1, version 2, version 3. You'll see versions come out and we'll be in touch with you. If you are like a JobBoss user or an Epicor user or something like that, we will be tracking that in our system. We'll be pushing out updates to you and notifications that, hey, we have a new update. There's new functionality in the connector, right? So you can actually just download that, install it, and then you can start syncing new record types potentially. So right now we're focused mostly on parts, jobs, operations. I want to say that's it. Those are the three I'm really confident in. I wanted to say samples, but I'm not sure. Like serial numbers. But there's other things that we want to start syncing as well. So for example, NCRs is a big one that we want to seamlessly sync. That's actually a bidirectional sync that could be set up. There's options that we can put in for like syncing certain results back into the system based on what the ERP needs. There's a whole bevy of use cases that we have mapped out for future functionality. All these connectors are going to have their own release notes in the KB and kind of KB articles that explain how they work. Some of that is even published already, I believe, for the connectors. So it's something, if you go to kb.highqa.com, you can take a look at that and start reviewing on your own if it's something that you're interested in. But definitely, if this is something here, we can actually go to the next slide. If this is something you guys are interested in, definitely reach out to us. We'd be happy to talk with you more about your specific use cases. But in general, the big takeaway here is that we are leveling up our capability and your capability to seamlessly exchange data between your ERP system and HighQA to make you guys even more efficient, even more scalable than you guys were before. And so hopefully you agree with that sentiment that we have. We're really proud of this work. This has been about a year and a half that we've been putting into this, and we've got, I believe, 3 customers that are currently running on it, and we got some case studies coming out about that soon, and so on. But yeah, any questions that you guys have, we'd be happy to jump in.
Yeah. Couple that are popped up already in there. I know you kind of touched base on this, and maybe this brought this question on as well. Is HighQA compliant with CMMC currently?
Yeah. So, well, that's kind of a two-pronged question, right? So is the software compliant? Is the integration suite compliant? Ironically, the integration suite is actually closer to full CMMC compliance than the main product, ironically, because it's a smaller scope to deal with. But for those of you that might be CMMC, yes, the government is going to start enforcing that sometime in 2025. I forget when the exact estimate is for which quarter or month, but that's something that we are on track for, and we are taking very seriously. It is a frequent topic of discussion, and there's a whole development track that we have that is devoted to getting full CMMC compliance. We are already compliant up to a certain degree. I'm not the expert to really speak to that internally, but we certainly have a whole bevy of documentation and such, and we can chat with you about that if you'd like to set up a call, and we can talk about the game plan and the roadmap towards that.
Perfect. Thank you. And then the next one, and certainly while we're answering this, if there are additional questions about the integration portion, let us know. Feel free to keep putting those questions in. We are going to go to a second part of our presentation, just really talking about who we are as a company, and talking a little bit more about the product suites that we do offer currently. But the second question we had in there really is tied around the additional ERPs that we are working on. I know a couple that have been discussed of Global Shop potentially at some point, Job Boss Squared, obviously the difference between Job Boss and Job Boss Squared. Obviously the Job Boss we're currently working with is the legacy product. The desktop version. Job Boss Squared is the old E2, I believe. That is the browser-based version of the software. And then I guess how other ones that we're potentially working on, and how difficult are those to add as we go along?
Yeah, that's a good question, a good point. So real quick little bit, I know we're kind of at time here. We've got a little time to run over if you guys want to stick with us. But basically, we've built a technology stack that lets us build these fairly rapidly. So we're not, each time we do one of these integrations, we're not building it from the ground up, because we're replicating common use cases and best practices that we've identified. And so the scripting engine that we've built to establish these connectors is like 80–90% recyclable through each of the connectors that we build. So when a customer comes to us and says, hey, do you support, like, for example, Global Shop right now? So I know that's one that's in the pipe that's coming. I don't want to put an estimate on it, but I know it's something coming. And so if a customer comes to us and asks, says, hey, can you do this? We can say, yeah, it's in our pipe. We can give you a time estimate on it. We're not talking months. We're talking, weeks typically to put that together, because we already have 80–90% of the work already done. So it's a minimal margin that we're closing there. Okay.
Awesome. Perfect. And that's all for right now. But again, please do, if you have additional questions on that, add us in there. We're going to take a step now a little bit away from the ERP Connect and really just kind of talk about HighQA as a whole, as a company, and as I mentioned before, some of the product suites that we offer as well. Ultimately, as mentioned previously, we had some customers, but some prospective customers. So want to definitely touch base on this so you better understand who we are as a company. Again, not going to get too detailed into the product today, but certainly if it's something you'd like to dive into a little bit more, please reach out. We'll have some contact information at the very end, and we'll be able to set up a online on-site demonstration to where we can walk you through the product, walk you through potentially one of your parts, see how that would interact with our software, and really work with you moving forward to show you how the software can work and benefit you internally. That being said, so really who we are as a company, roughly about 1,300 customers in 5 different continents. We have over 20,000 users worldwide. So truly, again, a global company with a presence on pretty much everywhere for the most part. Ultimately, at the end of the day, we have a very collaborative mindset with our development, with our product itself, with a focus really on that data security. I think we mentioned it several times in Chris's portion of the presentation, but that security portion with the industry that we really are in, industries, I should say, are very important, and we take that seriously. But ultimately, at the end of the day, we're a customer-driven culture. We listen to our customers. We think of our customers more as partners than as customers themselves. So again, we're really looking to collaborate, get ideas from our customers of how to make our software better, and that's really how we drive our product roadmap and the things that we are continually adding to our product and innovating with as well. So again, very, very collaborative as mentioned. And you'll see that here in our vision, mission, and values. Our vision is to simplify and automate the quality manufacturing process. Ultimately, at the end of the day, we're trying to automate and simplify a very monotonous process. Auto ballooning or manually ballooning and extracting data are often things that can take some time. And again, whether we try to automate it or give you the tools you need to try and make that an easier process, that's ultimately what our goal is as a company. Our mission is to make our customers on time, on budget, and on quality. And again, by speeding up a lot of these processes is talking about proof of the ERP Connect, but not only saving you time, but saving you really that accuracy and that efficiency from trying to not have to make mistakes by manually putting information into a software as well is part of that. And our values as well, and we touched base on these already, but to innovate, integrity, and teamwork. Again, very collaborative effort and really working with our customers to make sure the software is doing what they need to do. So couple, again, areas of the software that we offer really in HighQA as a company is really reimagine the manufacturing quality. Our unified platform really helps you win more business by simplifying and automating your manufacturing quality, both internally and throughout your supply chain. And we'll talk about both of those here moving forward. So HighQA 360 is an all-in-one manufacturing quality suite that really optimizes your quality planning, inspection, and reporting with intuitive tools that help your team deliver high-quality parts, again, on time, on quality, and on budget. You're going to hear me say that a few times today. Also included and mentioned again, the internal portion where we take care of your internal manufacturing. That's obviously very important to how you can better manage that, but also how do we pass that information down to our supply chain? We're going to do that through our HQA Hub, which is our supplier management software that is part of our quality suites as well. It leverages the HighQA 360, so you share, collaborate, manage, and monitor data with suppliers and customers from an all-in-one manufacturing-driven database with quality process really at the center of that. Whether your suppliers are already using HighQA 360 or if they're not, and again, the interface and the experience is ultimately the same. Your quality requirements are passed down from you, managed by you in real time. So you're reducing a lot of the interpretation by just sending them an unballooned drawing. Suppliers can then take that information, input the data back into the hub, and then send that data back to you electronically. So ultimately, the submission document, they validate quality, and all this is done before they ship the part to you. So again, you'll have the visibility and vision into their side of the shop before they send those parts to see any issues, able to monitor and track ongoing process and production to see if there are any potential issues going forward. So really, ultimately, the very bottom of there, that full transparency is what we're looking for. Again, all doing that while the security is very important to us. So HighQA Hub and HighQA 360 are built on the most secure infrastructure available. We're hosting this on the AWS GovCloud. So your data is fully encrypted, both at rest, so in the database, but also in transit as well, with our state-of-the-art end-to-end encryption protocols that we have in place. Fully ITAR compliant. We also have built digital rights management, letting manager to basically specify which specific users in which specific network have access to the different areas of our software as well. So total control as far as who sees what within our package as well. And at the end of the day, ultimately, as a company, We would be nothing without the implementation, without the support services that we provide. Again, a software is a software, but if you can't use it, can't get it up and going, we wouldn't be anywhere. So HiQA delivers enterprise ready solutions, as mentioned, but with the support services, you need to bring your team to the next level. Ultimately, we also offer the HiQA Academy, which offers on-demand certification courses to ensure that you and your suppliers aren't just complying with your quality requirements, they're thriving with them. And finally, a couple last slides here. So ultimately, a few quotes we have from our customers over the last couple years after using it. And again, we can tell you how great our product is until we're red in the face, but I guess that's our job, right? Ultimately, we like to leave it to our customers to sing our praises, and here are a few quotes that we have from those as well. So won't read through these, just wanted to put them up on screen and kind of show you a couple things that we've helped out with in the past. And in short and in summary, again, ultimately, our goal today was to highlight the upgrades and updates that we've been making within the software as it pertains to HiQA and that ERP connection, how we can help streamline that process for you, but also get into a little bit more of exactly who we are as a company, and hopefully we've done that today. So the last slide here, and I don't know if we have any additional questions. It doesn't look like we do at the moment, but certainly we do appreciate everyone's time here today. It looks like we didn't bore you too much. Everybody who started with the meeting is still here, so that's a good sign. But I want to say thanks again. Again, we do appreciate your time, and hopefully this was an informative session. We do have some upcoming webinars as well, so keep an eye out for those if you like what you saw here today and are eager for more. Or again, as mentioned before, if you do want to take the next step and take a deeper look at either existing customers, talking more about the HiQA Connect pricing, anything regarding to that, feel free to reach out to me directly if you have my contact information, or just go out to info@hiqa.com. Or if you'd like to take a look at a prospective customer at a deeper demo of our core product itself and how we would get started with that, info@hiqa.com is a great way to do that, and we'll get you in the right hands. With that being said, I again thank everyone for your attention and time today. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks.
Thanks, everyone. Really appreciate it.